This is the new Honor MagicBook Art 14, the 2025 edition. It is powered by the Core Ultra 7 255H. It's got 16 threads, 16 cores, and turbos up to 5.1 gigahertz, paired out with 32 gigabytes of RAM and a terabyte SSD. The screen's an OLED, 120 Hz refresh rate, and pulse width modulation flicker is non-existent with this because it does have a very high hertz on this. So it's 4,320 hertz. So you're not going to see any flickers, which is great. And being an OLED, really deep blacks. And they do claim 1600 nits brightness, but I'll be measuring and giving you the full stats on the screen, which, by the way, does support 10 touch points. Wide, nice, large trackpad, backlit keyboard, and it only weighs 1.03 kilos. So it's lightweight, portable, and it's got a bit of power to it thanks to the ARC 140T integrated graphics. It means that it's no longer that integrated graphics that Intel used to have that was really quite poor and not that powerful. It can even do a little bit of gaming here, and it's great for things like video editing. And finally, the battery in this, well, it's 60 watt hours, and I'll be letting you know what kind of runtime I can get out of the MagicBook Art 14. With the MagicBook Art 14, we do get a charger. This is 65 watts and a Type-C to Type-C cable.
So I really like the size of this laptop. I think that 14 inches or 14.6, which this is a perfect travel size, and the weight really light. So 1.03 kilos only, and it's made out of magnesium alloy, the body. Now there are three colors. I have, I think, the worst color here. This is the mocha brown. And it's a very kind of off brown, and I see kind of why they call it the mocha brown. It's a little bit like a coffee color. There's the sunshine white or the emerald green, which I think is the best, emerald green. Now you can open this hinge up just one-handed, no problems at all. And it just feels like quality, this laptop. And we have a backlit keyboard here. That's a titanium alloy keyboard. 1.5 millimeter key treble, and it does feel very good to type on. There really is no flex, just a tiny little bit if I press excessively hard down on the keyboard. Now we've got the built-in speakers, you can see at the top here, and it's also down on the sides where the sound comes out. And they sound really good. There will be a sample later on in my video. And our touchpad is huge. And this is a really good touchpad as well. Nice smooth glass surface to it. Goes right up to the edges right here. And we have some microphones down here. They're a little bit hard to see, but I'll show you that when we look at the sides of it. So great keyboard, backlit too as well. Power button does have a fingerprint sensor built into it, and it sits more flush, and it's a lot firmer to press. So I've had no accidental touches of that. Half-size arrow keys, kind of wish they were full-size ones, but I see why they've done that, just to make everything a little bit smaller with the space that they've got to be able to fit it all in. But they've done a good job, and overall, great build quality, good feeling hinge, and you can see the Honor branding just there. Now this top does stick out a little bit. That allows us, with the little lip there, to easily open up the laptop. And there are the two microphones right there at the front. So it closes nice and flush the lid here. Now at the thinnest point, it is just 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters, but the thickness is 11.5. So very good and very small and compact. There are no ports at the back of it, and this is where the hot air comes out. Just the vents there and right there. And this is a bit of a gap there in the rubber foot. This is a single rubber foot we have at the back of it. USB Type A, and this is USB 3.2 Gen 1 only for that. So this is good for plugging in, say, mouse and keyboard. HDMI 2.1, and we have a 3.5 millimeter with mic support. So good to see those ports are present and not just Type-C ports, which a lot of brands do. So here we have where the camera comes out. So you press in on this and it pops out, and then you do have that little camera, so you can fit that onto the top with the pogo port pin connectors. Fits in there nicely, and then it clicks into place. It can sometimes be a little bit difficult to click in. You're going to have to use your fingernail to push it right in. So we have here Thunderbolt 4 and then a USB Type-C, which is USB 3.2 Gen 2. I really would have liked to have seen two Thunderbolt 4s here, and even Thunderbolt 5 support, even better. And on the side here, see it curves up nicely, and this is where we do get some of the sound coming out for the internal speakers. So two cooling fans within this. The whole back there is vents, one fan here and here, copper transfer pipes inside as it sucks in the cool air, blows that out the two vents at the back. And we have a 600 watt hour battery within this. And I can tell you now that I've been testing the battery life, it's somewhere between about 7.5, 8 hours of standard kind of light office use. If you are editing video, then that is around 4 to 5 hours, maybe even less. And if you're gaming, pushing the that Arc graphics, the 140T, really hard, even less, around about 2.5 hours, 3 hours if you game on it, with the screen brightness set to 50%. So that hidden magnetic camera is great for privacy because it's not on unless you do remove it and plug it in. So just pushing on the side here, it pops out and I can place it then on the top to be facing me. Camera's now enabled. Or I can flip it around. So I'm in a conference call and have it facing other people or the whole room. It's a 1080p webcam. Those magnets are really nice and strong. It keeps it in place, so you won't be easily knocking this off at all. So this is the quality that you can expect out of our webcam here with the MagicBook Art 14. As you can see, it's decent quality, and the microphones, there's 3 of them. You're listening to those right now, and it picks up my voice well, and there's a lot of details there. And I don't really hear any fan noise coming through either. So good webcam, good mic combination for business use, for your video calls and whatnot. Here we are in Windows 11. Now, it is Windows 11 Home Single Language Edition that it does ship with. If I scroll down here, I'll just quickly show you that. So Single Language Edition there. And if you wanted to have other languages to it from the ones that we already have included, you would probably need to upgrade to Windows 11 Pro in order to do so. I don't know why it ships with that. Maybe it's the review units that we get. So the RAM here is 32 gigabytes and it's running at 8400 mega transfers. So it's very quick RAM, onboard RAM, cannot be upgraded. And I believe this is it spec-wise. We're only going to get the 32. There is no 64 gigabyte model that I know of. And the chipset is the Ultra 7 255H that I mentioned in the intro. So 16 cores, 5.1 gigahertz turbo, and Arc 140T integrated graphics. It can use up to 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's shared. At the moment, it's just saying 128, which is allocated to it. Now, I wanted to mention that the BIOS is completely locked down to us. There's only things like secure boot that you can change, boot order, and a couple of very minor settings. But all the advanced settings, we don't have access to any of that, unfortunately. Looking in Device Manager, you'll see that it's Wi-Fi 6E. This is an Intel card, the AX211. It's a good card, very good. Good throughput. However, it's not Wi-Fi 7. And I think a laptop like this should come with Wi-Fi 7 in, well, we're looking at Q3 here, 2025. Definitely should have that. Even though most people don't have Wi-Fi 7 routers, it's still good for future-proofing to have that because you cannot upgrade or swap it out yourself. And you'll see that the fingerprint reader is an Aegis Tech touch fingerprint sensor there, and it works fine, so you don't need to key in passwords. So that is great. The disk drive, I don't know the brand of this one. It's a YMTC. It's only 1 terabyte. And I got to point this out because they're still doing this. They're partitioning the drive, I think, in a, well, not a great way because they give us 300 gigabytes on the C drive and then 625 on a second partition, which is D for data. Now, the reasoning behind this is if you were to go and factory reset and not wipe everything, you just did the factory reset on the C drive partition for Windows, you'd still have all your files on data. But it becomes a bit of a problem space-wise. Even now, since I've been using this as my main work PC, video files take up a lot of room, and I ran out of space on C drive and had to start moving a lot of those files onto the D drive. So just bear that in mind. Now, it's fixable with Windows Partition Manager software. You could go along and change that, but personally, I think 1 terabyte's not enough nowadays. We should really have 2 terabytes shipping out with this unit. Performance from the Ultra 7 255H is very good. This is great score here. It's not that much behind on the Ultra 9, the 285H, which is the next step up chip, which you can't get with this model, but that will get typically about 2,900 for single core and about 15,000 for multi. So it's not lagging behind by too much. And honestly, you're not really missing out on much. It's still a very good chip, this one. And this is the OpenCL score for the GPU. So it gets close to 37,000, which is decent, but this particular Intel GPU, integrated GPU, should be able to do a little more than this. It should be able to get around 38,000. And here we have Time Spy, 4,000, over 4,000 just. Graphics score, not the best I've seen. This is slightly below average, and I believe it's to do with the power limit that Honor have set, which is 40 watts. That's it. That's their Turbo X, they like to call it, but it's just a power limit that they've set that's slightly higher than the default 35, I believe it is, for this particular chipset. Still a good score, don't get me wrong, it has plenty of power. And the last benchmark here is Cinebench 2024. We've got a single core score there of 116 points. That's still very good considering it's 5.1 gigahertz max turbo here. And a multi-core of 809 points. That puts it just above the Apple M1, the M1 Pro, I believe it is, not the Ultra. The Ultra there sitting at 16/1600, but it is the lowest spec Pro that gets slightly under this score, around about 800. So we're just above that. So good performance here out of this Intel chipset. Now, as I did say, I have been using this as my main work PC just to test it out properly. If it was possible that I could edit videos on the integrated graphics, do all my typical kind of work, and you can. Yes, that RAM being 32 gigabytes, but at the 8400 mega transfers definitely does help. It speeds things up. So you can see here I've got one of my lengthy reviews. There's not much going on in terms of fancy transitions or anything. I don't bother with that. My edits are very simple. There's some color grading going on. And the timeline is fast. I've only got quarter playback here. These are 4K files, and I normally don't run it like this. I've just changed the window scaling for the purposes of this video so we can see things a little clearer. But I edited this video all on integrated graphics and all without really any problems, right up to a review that's just under 16 minutes long, which is typical for me when it comes to my phone reviews. You can see the timeline there, very quick, snappy. No drop frames, no lags. Let's take a look at the export speed now. Now, I've loaded in my test video that I always edit in my laptop reviews. It has to be that same one, otherwise it would not be fair using one of my full videos. And I've got a minute of footage there at the YouTube preset. We'll see how long this is going to take. I'm going to reset that timer here. So hit start and export. It should absolutely tear through this because it's using Intel QuickSync, and you can see it's using the Arc 140T, and we've only got about 10 seconds left, although it will take a little bit longer than that. Normally once this disappears completely is when I hit pause on that timer. And it hasn't disappeared, but there we go. So that was 21 seconds. Wow, that is quick. That's quicker than normal. So you could say that that's roughly about 20 with my delay in there. Very quick for 1 minute of 4K footage at the YouTube preset. So export times are excellent with Adobe Premiere Pro 2025 and the 140T Art graphics. Now, very quickly, the included Honor software is not bloatware. It's actually quite useful. So we've got Honor PC Manager. This is where you will find system optimizations, smart audio settings, screen sharing, and you get your driver updates that are pushed out through this application. We do have their control center. So it's just basically little toggles, very handy too as well there. And then the Honor PC Manager, sorry, that's the one I've just mentioned, but the workstation as well, very handy, useful software that does come with the laptop. Now thermals, we got up to 96 degrees, well in fact 97 degrees Celsius on the CPU package. It did trigger thermal throttling, and that is using a 40 watt power limit that Honor does have set. Now I can see the power usage did get up to almost 44 watts, so it really couldn't handle any more wattage. Even though this chip itself you could throw more power at it, it would throttle even sooner, and there'd really be no point. Not that we can adjust this, not through the BIOS at least. Now, fan noise has been excellent. It is in general a very quiet laptop. Normally on battery, you don't even hear it at all. When you've got it plugged in doing something demanding, like the example I'll show you now, you hear it, but it is not offensive. So is that integrated graphics capable of gaming? The Arc 140T, depending on the RAM, on how fast it is, it can do a little bit of gaming. I'm testing out right now Cyberpunk 2077. This is the in-game benchmark running at 720p on the default settings for this, default visuals. And there we go, an average frame rate of 32.88 frames per second, thermals in the upper 70s. So if you can play at 30 frames per second, you can do that, and this was on the ray tracing low setting, and the texture quality is high, so you could tweak this a little bit more, maybe get a few extra frames per second. The Witcher 3 inside the city right here, which is very demanding on the graphics here, having all those NPCs to render, the lighting. We're still getting over 50 frames per second normally, so it is quite playable. This is at 720p on the lowest setting, mid-40s now, and then up to around about 63 frames per second maximum. GTA 5 here, this is on the high preset. This is GTA 5 Enhanced Edition, so the recent, more newer edition to it. And at 1080p, very playable. Over 60 frames per second, which is fantastic for integrated graphics. So I did attempt to run Linux Manjaro and no luck. With open source drivers, I could not get the touchscreen to work. I could not get the wireless card to work either. And I just left it at that. So if you want to run Linux on this, be prepared for a few challenges when it comes to the drivers.
So this laptop, I really do like it. I think it's the ideal business travel laptop for someone, even schoolwork and things. It's got that fantastic build quality, lightweight to it as well. So only 1.03 kilos. Great for travel this size. 14.6 inches, I feel is not too big, nor too small when it comes to a laptop you would want to travel with. I do quite a bit of travel myself, and I do prefer 14 inches. I think it's the best kind of point. Sometimes 13 feels a little bit too small. Well, this is absolutely perfect. Great screen, 10 touch points. It's bright, it's OLED, 120 Hertz refresh rate, no pulse width modulation flicker that I can see. The battery, well, it's 60 watt hours. It's not the largest capacity. However, it goes for 7.5 to 8 hours, of light office work with a brightness set to 30%. So it'll make it through a full day. 65 watt charger comes with it, is nice and small and compact. And the keyboard, great to type on. Backlit, very good touchpad. And the speakers, they're also excellent. 6 speakers, very rich sounding, some bass to them, good volume. And then the webcam. I don't see it as a gimmick at all. Great for privacy, that's hidden away, and the webcam quality is better than the ones you'd find in the top bezel because the sensor's a little bit larger. And you fit that at the top, you can easily flip it around and show, for example, your team. If you're in some video call, you could do that if you wanted to. And it's very easy to store that back and you just clip it into place and that is it. So what are my cons? They're cons that are, okay, maybe a bit of nitpicking here. It should come with Wi-Fi 7. It doesn't. It's Wi-Fi 6E. Still very fast for Wi-Fi, but I would like to see Wi-Fi 7 for better future proofing. It's non-upgradable, the Wi-Fi card. The RAM, also non-upgradable. You're stuck with the 32 gigabytes and the 1 terabyte of storage configuration. And the chipset, the Ultra 7 255H. You can't get the Ultra 9 version, the 285H. It's just not possible. That's the configuration you have. The SSD is poorly partitioned. They should have set it, I think, up a little bit better. Only giving 300 gigabytes to Windows. It could be a problem for some people that don't know how to repartition a drive and set that space. And I would love to see a 2 terabyte option for storage. Now, it's an easy fix for someone that's like me, or you're a bit of a techie that you know how to open up a laptop and upgrade the SSD. It won't be an issue for some people, but for the average Joe, it will be, and I would like to see 2 terabytes of storage. So there are little nitpicks there, but otherwise, this is such a good laptop, and I would highly recommend go for the darker green. The green color or the white color, I think, looks better than this mocha brown, which I'm not highly fond of, even though this is overall a fantastic laptop here from Honor. So thank you so much for watching my review of the MagicBook Art 14 2025 edition. If you want to know the pricing and availability, check the link in the description, because at the time of me filming this on the 26th, I don't know. I'm in the launch event now in London, which is the 28th when this video has been published.